house. We were under a tremendous amount of pressure to try to solve it. About 5 days after the Acuri murders occurred, one of the detectives came in and said, "You're not gonna believe this. They're calling for a detective on Somerset, Miss Brock. She had been drug out the house and that her head was practically decapitated on her body."
When we got to the scene of the Brock case, the phone lines were cut, which was similar to the Acuri's. It appeared a sharp instrument, knife, weapon was used in the case, which was similar to the Acuri's. A safe and her car were missing.
Then it got down to, okay, we got to find somebody. We got a bad guy around here.
Criminals have no jurisdictions. They cross parish lines, county lines. So we called Ascension Parish. They also had an unsolved murder. 2, actually. Victor Rossi and Miss Philippi. The focus appeared to be burglary. Victims were brutally attacked. When we called St. James Parish to see if they had any unsolved homicides, they did have one, Miss Barbara Bourgeois. It was a burglary. Entry was made through a window. She was brutally attacked. She was elderly. But when you reach out to a counterpart and say, "Hey, you have anything going on? You have any unsolved homicides?" And when they say yeah, it makes you stop and realize that you have something bigger in your hands than what you thought you had. We suspect that they're related. There's similarities. When's he gonna strike again? If we don't act fast enough, will somebody else die?
We had so many cases, and we had 2 in St. John, 1 in St. James, 3 in Ascension Parish.
Because we have all the similarities in all the other crimes that are coming together, that it looks like it's going to be some type of serial event. Where you had someone preying on elderly people, you had the same type of MO, weapons of opportunity, you had phone wires cut. There are people that shouldn't have to worry about going to sleep at nighttime and never waking up because someone brutally attacked and murdered them while they were sleeping in their beds.
You don't know when the next person's going to be attacked, killed. Road officers are talking to their informants. Detectives are talking to their sources, running down leads, trying to find anybody they can, trying to find any evidence they can. It's a tremendous amount of stress.
On July 7th, 1997, I was called to investigate a crime that occurred at the Miette residence. I responded to the residence and learned that the Miettes were attacked while they were sleeping in their residence. The perpetrator forced them to open up a safe. A large amount of cash was taken. The perpetrator then shot Mr. Miette in the face. And then at that point in time, the perpetrator goes through the dining room area and shoots Miss Miette. What he didn't know is both victims were still alive.
And now we have 2 witnesses who can describe their attempted murderer.
So once their conditions were stable, I went to the hospital where they were at, and I brought a sketch artist there as well, and we were able to put together a composite. We released that composite sketch out to the media. We started generating phone tips from the community, and nothing led us to anybody that committed this crime.
We had no DNA. We had no fingerprints. We had no physical evidence.
When we started hitting roadblocks and walls, frankly, we brought in the FBI.
Ascension Detective Lieutenant Benny DeLone and his partner are bringing their attempted murder investigation all the way to Quantico, Virginia, and FBI headquarters. They'll bring every piece of evidence gathered in the investigations, and hopefully they'll come home with a better understanding of who committed these crimes, enough so they can make an arrest.
The Behavioral Analysis Unit is a specialized unit within the FBI of highly trained people that study psychology and then will provide what they believe is the best description of the subject based on the information provided. The profile hit on a number of points, including that he would have all of a sudden money that he didn't have before and that he just couldn't explain. He was most likely from or very familiar with the areas of each crime scene, and that after the victim survived, that he would have left town with some plausible reason. I think everybody really truly believed, even though it was suspected before, that these cases were related and that you had a serial killer on your hands.
You're responsible for bringing a sense of security and comfort to the community, letting them know that they're safe. And it's hard to do when you have elderly people that have been brutally attacked and murdered. Everybody is scared. Alarm sales are going through the roof.
So now that you know that you've got a serial killer on your hand, then you got to be thinking of when he's going to do this again.
And so at that point, we called a press conference. And we released the information from the FBI profile. Well, we decided to take the several 100,000 people in the river parishes and make them investigators as well. And we got an overwhelming response from the public. I think it's him. He looks like so-and-so. He looks like so. So we're chasing all of those down.
One of these tips was from an individual who worked at a casino within our jurisdiction, who he thought of an individual who frequented this casino where he worked at, who used to go to the casino and spend very little bit of money.
And then all of a sudden, he began coming and he was spending large amounts of money. He started wearing jewelry, and he had recently rode up on a new motorcycle. During his description, he said he used to drive up in a pickup truck with some type of boom in the rear of the bed to lift motors and such as that. And at that point, I knew the truck, or a truck that fit that description, that belonged to Daniel Blank, as he was a mechanic, and he used to work for a friend of mine, Victor Rossi.
So we started doing a financial background check on him as well, and learning that his source of income is far, far less than what he was actually spending at these casinos. Once we developed Daniel Blank as a suspect, we went to his last known address. And when we went to that address, he moved. And we learned from a family member of his that he had just moved. And he had just moved right after the Miette case. When we left that residence, we went back to my office. And no sooner than walk into my office, I'm receiving a phone call from Daniel Blank asking why are we needing to talk to him.
Hello? This is Daniel Blank call. Yes. Somebody just told me that the detective is looking for me. Yeah, that's me. I'm Sergeant Tony with the Sheriff's Office. We work in cases over here, and your name came up in it. Okay. There's some elderly people that's been murdered, and one of these people you used to work for, Mr. Brock. I worked for him many years ago. Well, his wife was murdered, and she's one of these elderly people, too. Yeah. Wait, you living in, on Alaska now? I live in Texas, yeah. What kind of work you doing now, Daniel? Mechanic work. Oh, mechanic work? Yeah. You come into any money lately? Yeah, I want some money at the casino. How much money you want? Close to $50,000, I guess. $50,000? You gonna be back in Louisiana anytime soon? Well, I was supposed to try to go down there this weekend. This weekend? Let me give you my name, and when you get in town, I'll give you my page number and you call me. All right, then.
He made arrangements to meet with us, and that date came and went.
And he didn't show. The investigation now goes to another level.
We started doing a background check on him.
We were able to connect him to every individual, every homicide that had occurred. He had worked for 2 victims. He had worked for Victor Rossi. He had worked for Mrs. Brock's husband. He lived near Miss Bourgeois. He used to buy auto parts for Miss Philippe's husband.
Daniel had a girlfriend at the time who worked at a local restaurant, which was directly across the street from the Acuri residence. Money is really the motive to these murders. And once we connected all the dots and that all the dots were linking up to Daniel Blank, this could be our guy. We formulated a plan and we went to him in Texas where he was living at. With the help of the Texas authorities, we secured part of the Onalaska courthouse and we used that for interview rooms.
You doing, Daniel? All right. Want to see right here for us? Right here, Daniel.
I didn't know Mike before this investigation. He didn't know my abilities. I didn't know his abilities. And you're placing your trust in each other's hands.
Email. How you doing? Nice to meet you. And I spoke to you a couple times on the phone. My name's Mike Tony, the Sheriff's Office in Ascension. He's with St. John Sheriff's Office.
We needed to be prepared. We had nothing. And lack of physical evidence, sometimes interview or interrogation is the only evidence that you'll get.
I want to talk to you, Daniel, concerning some stuff.
This was either going to result in a confession or a dead end.
We got elderly people, we got business people, we got weapons of opportunity, we got phone wires being cut. Money is really the motive to these murders. And once we connected all the dots and that all the dots were linking up to Daniel Blank, this could be our guy. We formulated a plan and we went to him in Texas where he was living at.
We wanted to cover as many homicides as possible. I was involved in the Acuri and the Brock case. Mike was involved in Victor Rossi and Miss Philippi. And St. James Parish wasn't able to go. I knew some about their case. I talked to their investigator. So we felt it was important to have 2 investigators in the room that would know details of all the cases.
You doing, Daniel? All right. Want to see right here for us? Right here, Daniel.
We had him sit at the end of the table. Mike and I each sat on opposite sides, facing him. You don't want a barrier between the suspect and the interviewer. You want to have that open environment. It allows you to move in, get intimate.
Well, you want me to answer questions? Yeah, I'll answer anything you want me to answer. I ain't got nothing to hide.
At any given point in time, he can say, no, I don't want to continue anymore. He can ask for his lawyer, or he can just get up and walk out.
Let's just start with some background information.
When we were coming up with a strategy to approach the interview, I felt that I wanted to take the lead. We wanted to start to build rapport. We had talked about how he grew up, where he grew up, his family.
My mom passed away.
What's her name?
Alice.
When did she die?
So a little over 3 years ago, maybe one, somewhere around there.
He appeared to be a blue-collar guy. You know, he was a mechanic. He's been a mechanic most of his life. Didn't appear nervous.
This is my first time meeting you. That's why I'm asking a lot of questions, just to get to know you. Tell me about your past employers. Where you used to work at, what kind of places. Was it always in the mechanic field? Was it other places that you worked at?
My first job in a shop was for Ralph Sampier. Then I went and worked for Doug's Auto Repair. That's when I went and worked for Robert DeBlesses. See, I worked for Robert full-time